Thanks, Matt.
Hi. I guess you're all thinking to yourselves, why is the oldest gaijin in the building talking about Japanese youth? I spend my life studying the way in which people react to different things to try and figure out how to communicate and market to them. For the last 25 years or so, I've been looking at the way in which young people think and act around the world and what motivates them. And over the last 8 years, I've spent my time living in Japan, and one of the big things we've been doing is trying to understand the motivations behind young people today. So I'm going to ask you a simple question. Can everybody in the room that's got a mobile phone hold it up? Please? Is it switched on? I hope so. Are you Googling me at the moment? I hope so. Are you tweeting your friends? I hope so. Because if you're not actually using your mobile phone right at the moment, then you really don't understand young people today. 53%. 53% is the percentage of young people in Japan who told us that they would rather get rid of their nose than their mobile phone. They would give up their sense of smell because the sense of mobility, the sense of the world they get through their mobile technology is more important to them. Now that's a pretty scary number. It's funny, of course, the way I present it. But if you think about the fact that we now live our lives through this thing, and that the way in which we understand the world is more and more through the technologies and the mediums that are provided to us through those technologies and the content of those mediums, then you really understand what motivates young people. We've tried to look at motivations in many ways and find out across many, many studies here in Japan and in dozens of countries around the world what it is that actually motivates people in different ways. But what's interesting is that in Japan, we came to the conclusion that there are three key motivations behind their behaviour. The first two are common around the world. The need to commune, the need to join groups, to be able to associate with other people, to have close relationships, and to have relationships that provide some sort of meaning in life. The second motivation is authenticity. This really is a more modern motivation, if you like, that comes on board because of the technologies they have and the overwhelming information they have available to them. That means that both they are looking for really authentic information, but they are looking at themselves as professional and very authentic providers of information. And the third one is more unique to Japan only because in Western markets we saw this as a key motivation probably when I was young. But now it's more and more the motivation of young people today in Japan, and that is to become something. Not necessarily to become what their parents want them to be, certainly not to become what the government might want them to be, but to become unique in their own fashion. Let me explain these three things. Communing. In the past, all of us, I guess, in this room went through a high school experience like these girls. There was me and my three best buds. And all through high school, we hung out together. And we were, if you like, a little secret society. Yes, we talked to other people, and sometimes we occasionally hung out with other people. But primarily, it was us together inward. This is the diagram that's typical of what Japanese young people told us their best bud relationship was about. Numerous different groups, all sorts of groups with numerous numbers, all equally important in different ways, all interconnecting and outer-connecting and disconnected, but all accessed constantly through their technologies. In 1993, I was doing some research in a number of Asian countries, including Japan. In 1993, I heard this quote in a focus group. "My computer is really just an extension of my brain." The quote came from a 14-year-old. A 14-year-old that had been brought up on this. Gundam. Mobile suit. Now, the quote seems strange, but not if you remember that you'd been brought up on Gundam, which is all about young children who basically use their brain to control these giant mobile suits, these giant robots. The media educates you to what you understand of the world. Today's young people in Japan are having a hard time trying to figure out what are they learning that's going to make them valuable within their own groups and societies. That's why this number is significant, 66%. 66% of 16 to 22-year-olds consistently have told us that they would like to be known as otaku. Not because otaku are some sort of geek freak, but because otaku means ultimate specialist, ultimate knowledge person. You know more about something than anybody else does. And that's their value they're looking for. The problem is that if you're an otaku, it's only valuable today if you are broadcasting that knowledge. The need to narrate has become the premier focus of life. This is why you're all sitting down there tweeting right at the moment, this guy's a jerk. Because we have to have an opinion on everything, but most importantly, we have to have an opinion and we have to be able to express that opinion that makes us unique in some way to stand out amongst that collective of many groups in which we want to be members. And for young people, this becomes the primary pressure. This is also why authenticity becomes so important. Otaku actually means being authentic in the modern world to young people today. It means I get it, I understand it, and I can broadcast it and be acknowledged for that expertise. But the problem then is, which one of me am I going to broadcast? Because as we set up our Twitter accounts, our Mixi accounts, our Facebook accounts, as we do all this broadcasting through all these mediums, we all make conscious and unconscious decisions as to which character we're going to project. Think about your Facebook page. I'm sure most people here have one. On that Facebook page, did you create a persona in there that is your real self? Or is it your virtuous self? Or is it your popular self? Now, I would suggest on the investigations we've done, most people, and especially most young people, choose a persona that is the popular self. And then at some point around the end of college, they sort of figure out, damn, I better start making it the virtuous self or I won't get a job. We shift between these things. This is one of the reasons why, particularly in the Japanese context, social media platforms have struggled with the difference between people using their real identity, their real face, etc., and not using their real face, their real photos, etc. It's because which of these identities am I supposed to be projecting? But this is all the way in which young people actually authenticate themselves. So when we say authentic, we don't actually mean God's honest, truth, scientific fact. We mean authentic in terms of I'm projecting who I really want to be seen as. Now, what's happening is that all of this is part of the education process they go through, the informal and the exformal education processes. Of course, in Japan, over the last 15 years, we saw an experiment in education process called the Yutori experiment, trying to create more creativity, if you like. For some dumb reason, the government has withdrawn that process. The Yutori exercise could be equated to a quote like this: go after your ambition and swear that you will pursue your goal. Think about what I've said about everything from otaku through. The reason why they can say that is because that quote comes from One Piece. One Piece is the greatest educator of today's young people. It's the most common educational factor. And what does One Piece teach you? All previous successful manga series were based on a very simple construct. There was a leader who was a white hat, always good, fighting a bad hat, a black guy, a black hat I should say, somebody who was the evil guy. And he had a group of friends who supported him. In One Piece, that doesn't work that way. Yes, there's a sort of hero character, and he has a bunch of friends, but every single character has his own goal, his own ambition, his own authentic role. The problem with Yutori was it was misunderstood. Yutori was a perfect system to enhance what people were learning throughout their media and contextual technology worlds. It was helping them become freeders. Freeders not in the sense of being a dropout or somebody who works at McDonald's, but a freeder in the truest sense that young people tell us it means. A freeder is somebody who's a free thinker. And that's what I want to be, a free thinker, because that helps me become what I want to be, which is Superman. I want to be the Superman in my own world. I want to achieve something Maybe I don't have that invisible coat that we saw earlier on, but what I will have is the technologies that will allow me to be the Superman within my world. And what we have to do is maybe rethink about young people in Japan today, because they are all supermen and superwomen. They are creative thinkers who are developing new characters, new roles, new models all the time. We just don't give them enough credit for it. And the truth about youth is that young people really do just want the chance to show that they can create something unique for themselves. And maybe that is something we should be thinking about. Thank you very much.